Indeed, and now let's turn to Keith Best, who's a former Conservative MP for Anglesey and also CEO of the charity Freedom from Torture. Evening to you.
Good evening.
Too, Keith. I mean, let me put that to you as well, what Peter Bone was suggesting. Why not just deport him? Why not just kick him out, whatever the courts say?
Well, I can't speak knowledgeably about Abu Qatada. He's not our client, and indeed people will have their own views about him. But this is not about Abu Qatada. It's about the rule of law, as you've just heard. It's about whether we are a civilised country and we apply that rule of law equally to everybody, not just the ones we like, but the ones we dislike as well. And there may be very good reason to dislike Abu Qatada, but that's not a matter for me. The point is about torture. And torture is not only notoriously unreliable in eliciting the truth, and so therefore it really shouldn't be used at all, but it is prohibited internationally using torture for evidence in a court of law, in a court of criminal law. And although Steve McCabe said that torture is illegal in Jordan, it is. If you read the Amnesty International reports, if you read the UN Committee Against Torture report in May 2010, you will see that torture is widespread in Jordan. It's endemic. It's used regularly by the General Intelligence Department, who seem to have impunity, and indeed that report from the UN criticised Jordan for not prosecuting properly the perpetrators of torture, for not investigating it and not providing protection to people. So frankly, I wouldn't give many people much chance in Jordan of getting a fair trial against that background.
So then you think Abu Qatada's legal team have got a point with what they argue, that he wouldn't get a fair trial in Jordan?
Well, it doesn't really matter what I think. It's what the judge thought, and the judge heard all the evidence, including evidence of the likelihood that evidence tainted by torture would be used in a criminal trial of Abu Qatada, and that should be enough for us to say we can't send him back there. The fact is there are some regimes around the world, and Jordan is not one of the nastiest ones, but there are regimes which regularly torture their own citizens, and we should be very careful that we don't mire ourselves and get ourselves into the same gutter by sending people back to face trial in those countries.
I mean, the Home Secretary's saying, you know, he's a dangerous man, a suspected terrorist. We saw in that report him talking about Osama bin Laden, you know, in praiseworthy terms. What do we do with him now, if we can't send him back to Jordan?
Well, if we can't send him back to Jordan, then it's going to have to be a matter of negotiation about where he can stand trial.
This has been going on for 10 years already.
and also, most importantly, where he can stand trial where the evidence against him is not suspect of being tainted by torture. That is fundamental. And if, frankly, the only evidence that is cogent against him in a criminal trial is tainted because it's been obtained under torture, then I'm afraid that's the fault of the people who prosecute him or want to prosecute him. And that should be a strong lesson to people around the world, that if your security forces use torture in obtaining evidence, be prepared to make sure to understand that those prosecutions cannot proceed.
Keith Best, very good to have you with us. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you.